That is some straight Godfather shit if I've ever heard it. Okay,
That's cap. That is cap.
Like I believe that he would have took his ass to Australia, which is funny to me because Australia is probably one of the only other countries that I know got a beast basketball squad. Right. Like that ask Ben Simmons about playing in Australia.
Right. Oh my God.
That is the most gangster shit I ever seen from an agent. Like, you pick him and going to Australia. I'm screaming. That is crazy.
He might move the needle because everybody's going to be tuned in to see when LeBron and Bronny are going to actually play on the court. Terrika, right? Of course, he's not going to get, I don't think he's going to get that many minutes this year, right? He may get a few. He will get a couple, right? Just to fulfill that prophecy of LeBron. Right. Yo, I play with my son in the NBA, and that is a testament to the greatness and the longevity in my career. But outside of that, he didn't get no time. I do think it also helps that this draft class was so weak, right? You didn't have any really names that jumped out to you that screamed generational talent, right? It was, okay, a lot of these guys, they can grow into becoming really solid role players or perhaps future franchise stars, but there wasn't anybody that really jumped out to you. And the other thing that we have to talk about is, well, I'm curious to know if teams were going to draft Bronny, like outside of the Lakers, I wonder if Rich Paul would have actually been like, oh yeah, we're taking him to Australia. Because I feel like that wasn't happening. No. The other part,
that is some gangster Michael Corleone.
And Australia is an interesting place to choose. Australia of all places.
That is some straight Godfather shit if I've ever heard it. Okay,
that's cap. That is cap.
Like I believe that he would have took his ass to Australia, which is funny to me because Australia is probably one of the only other countries that I know got a beast basketball squad. Right. Like that ask Ben Simmons about playing in Australia.
Right.
Oh my God. That is the most gangster shit I ever seen from an agent. Like, you pick him and going to Australia. I'm screaming. That is crazy.
Sharí said that's fake. First of all, anybody that would have chosen Bronny outside the Lakers, it would simply be to be spiteful. Because the reality, it would simply be to pull the rug up underneath LeBron James. Period. There was no other reason because to Chris's point, this was the iron striking while it was hot. Put Bronny in the draft next year. Good. Bye. No. This was the time to do it. So I don't know. I just felt like it felt a little capped to me, but that was just my opinion. I didn't necessarily see Bronny fitting in with any of these other teams in a way, again, to Terrika's point earlier, that he would have any level of impact. So monetarily, yes, short run, your team from a financial standpoint, you got ticket sales, you're going to get that anyway. It's Bronny. But outside of that, like getting better, what am I drafting him for? If I'm another NBA team outside the Lakers, like what's the point? Unless I'm going to be like, yeah, LeBron, sorry, dude. Or we got him over here. How much money y'all got, Lakers people? How much money you got, Jenny Bus? You want them, right?
So pay up. Talking about when I say trade value, when I'm like for trade leverage or trade value, like there you go. A team could possibly, if you're Sacramento, what you got to lose? And keep in mind, this really wasn't a very strong draft.
Not at all.
What I mean? So it wasn't like there was a plethora of folks could just really, that GMs and folks could really be like, well, I think you should have got him or got him. So that's what makes this situation so nuanced, right? Because it wasn't a typical draft class. It's the 55th pick. It's LeBron's son. There's so many variables to why something like this probably won't ever happen again, or at least no time within our generation. Mm-hmm. But it's just, it's so difficult for me to pinpoint, other than the fact that, like, I'm not mad at what happened, but I'm like, if you're the Lakers, I just don't believe you. Even with the 17th pick, like, I just don't think this draft made you better.
Not at all. Not at all. And the Bronny decision was so short run. It was so short run to me. And even JJ Redick, sorry, short run. If I'm thinking about the Lakers 3 years from now, I'm literally thinking about a catastrophe. Like I don't see them being a great team for quite some time. So you did this to fulfill, a desire of LeBron to have a historic run. Your organization is going to make really good money for the next couple years. But when LeBron gets out of there and Bronny has to prove himself, and JJ Redick may or may not be, we don't know, because we all know how they recycle coaches. Like, what does your organization look like in the next 3 years?
That's assuming he still stays. Because
that's what I'm saying.
Being honest, and Chris, love to hear your input, because honestly, what if LeBron says, hey, I'm 41 or 42 or whatever, I'm done. I've fulfilled my prophecy, done whatever it is I want to do. What if Bronny doesn't have a great experience? What if he feels that he does develop a skill set that could be needed for another team? Like, I just think the security, like I just keep hearing it was the security for the future. But I'm like, you can't guarantee that a future with Bronny is going to remain here once his father is not. You can't guarantee that. So there's that.
I think it's much more likely that Bronny James will be on another team once his father retires than he stays, right, with the Lakers. I think it's just much more likely, right? I honestly think it would have been better. And again, I know LeBron James' goal, right, was to have his son play in the NBA at the same time that he's playing. It was never Bronny James' goal, to our knowledge, that he wanted to play with his father. It was, I want to play in the NBA. And I do think he has the tools, right, to develop into a really solid role player. Like, we got to remember, this is a guy who, he doesn't have the gaudy stats, right? He averaged just about 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists at USC, coming off a cardiac arrest, right? So he didn't even play to begin the season. Yeah. He's got the defense, he's got the athleticism, right? He's got the hops, he's got the playmaking, the vision. But it's going to take him some time to adjust, a lot more time than others, right? Because I do think that he still should have gone back. But again, he wanted to be at NBA, and that's his prerogative. And look, he performed well in the combine, where I think ESPN had him in the top 100 for NBA prospects. And then after the combine, he was number 54. So clearly there's talent there. I just think he probably should have gone back another year at USC or somewhere else.
Agreed.
And taking more time to develop. And then he would have gotten drafted maybe a year or two. But that's not the situation. He's in the NBA. And my thing is, I just hope, to Terrika's point, that his experience with his father on the Lakers is going to be a positive one, and it doesn't derail him, right? Because it's one thing to give your son or your daughter a leg up in the process because of all the work you put in, but it's another thing to put them in a situation where you can make them very vulnerable, very susceptible to a lot of issues, right? A lot of possible failures, an environment that's just not healthy. So I think that's something that, we have to look out for. But I got no problem with Bron doing what he did. And I don't know, as we're going to flip the page, I don't know if people have a problem with what a lot of these front offices do, because nepotism be all up in there when it comes to sports.